Mahatma Gandhi birth and parentage in his own word. Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi, better known as Mahatma Gandhi, was born on 2nd October 1869 in Porbandar in Gujarat into the middle-class Vaishya family. Mahatma Gandhi explained his life in the story of My Experiments with Truth. He said that the Gandhis belonged to the Baniya caste and seem to have been originally grocers. But for 3 generations, from my grandfather, they have been prime ministers in several Kathiawad states. Uttamchand Gandhi, alias Ota Gandhi, my grandfather, must have been a man of principle. State intrigues compelled him to leave Porbandar, where he was Diwan, and to seek refuge in Junagadh. There he saluted the Nawab with the left hand. Someone, noticing the apparent discourtesy, asked for an explanation, which was given thus: the right hand is already pledged to Porbandar. Ota Gandhi married a second time, having lost his first wife. He had 4 sons by his first wife and 2 by his second wife. I do not think that in my childhood I ever felt or knew that these sons of Ota Gandhi were not all of the same mother. The 5th of these 6 brothers was Karamchand Gandhi, alias Kaba Gandhi, and the 6th was Tulsidas Gandhi. Both these brothers were prime ministers in Porbandar, one after the other. Kaba Gandhi was my father. He was a member of the Rajasthani court. It is now extinct, but in those days it was a very influential body for settling disputes between the chiefs and their fellow clansmen. He was for some time Prime Minister in Rajkot and then in Vankana. He was a pensioner of the Rajkot state when he died. Kaba Gandhi married 4 times in succession, having lost his wife each time by death. He had 2 daughters by his first and second marriages. His last wife, Putlibai, bore him a daughter and 3 sons, I being the youngest. My father was a lover of his clan, truthful, brave and generous, but short-tempered. To a certain extent he might have been given to carnal pleasures. For he married for the 4th time when he was over 40. But he was incorruptible and had earned a name for strict impartiality in his family as well as outside. His loyalty to the state was well known. An assistant political agent spoke insultingly of the Rajkot Kaur Sahib, his chief, and he stood up to the insult. The agent was angry and asked Kaba Gandhi to apologize. This he refused to do and was therefore kept under detention for a few hours. But when the agent saw that Kaba Gandhi was adamant, he ordered him to be released. My father never had any ambition to accumulate riches and left us very little property. He had no education, save that of experience. At best, he might be said to have read up to the 5th Gujarati standard. Of history and geography he was innocent. But his rich experience of practical affairs stood him in good stead in the solution of the most intricate questions and in managing hundreds of men. Of religious training he had very little, but he had that kind of religious culture which frequent visits to temples and listening to religious discourses make available to many Hindus. In his last days he began reading the Gita at the instance of a learned Brahman friend of the family, and he used to repeat aloud some verses every day at the time of worship. The outstanding impression my mother has left on my memory is that of Saint Lines. She was deeply religious. She would not think of taking her meals without her daily prayers. Going to Haveli, the Vaishnava temple, was one of her daily duties. As far as my memory can go back, I do not remember her having ever missed the Chaturmas. She would take the hardest woes and keep them without flinching. Illness was no excuse for relaxing them. I can recall her once falling ill when she was observing the Chandrayana vow, but the illness was not allowed to interrupt the observance. To keep 2 or 3 consecutive fasts was nothing to her. Living on 1 meal a day during Chaturmas was a habit with her. Not content with that, she fasted every alternate day during one Chaturmas. During another Chaturmas she vowed not to have food without seeing the sun. We children on those days would stand, staring at the sky, waiting to announce the appearance of the sun to our mother. Everyone knows that at the height of the rainy season the sun often does not condescend to show his face. And I remember days when, at his sudden appearance, we would rush and announce it to her. She would run out to say with her own eyes, but by that time the fugitive sun would be gone, thus depriving her of her meal. That does not matter, she would say cheerfully, God did not want me to eat today. And then she would return to her round of duties. My mother had strong common sense. She was well informed about all matters of state, and ladies of the court thought highly of her intelligence. Often I would accompany her, exercising the privilege of childhood, and I still remember many lively discussions she had with the widowed mother of the Kaur Sahib. Of these parents I was born at Porbandar, otherwise known as Sudampuri, on the 2nd October 1869. I passed my childhood in Porbandar. I recollect having been put to school. It was with some difficulty that I got through the multiplication tables. The fact that I recollect nothing more of those days than having learned, in company with other boys, to call our teacher all kinds of names, would strongly suggest that my intellect must have been sluggish, and my memory